professional. I think the professor just laughed into a new universe.
And no one's ever going to know what we're talking about. No one's ever going to know because you're not on the Patreon. Join our Patreon.
Way to plug that early. We do have Patreon, though, now, so please join us and become one of our patronizers because we will give you great content like you didn't see just now. But we're giving you better content right now than what we saw tonight because, gentlemen, we're here for the AEW Dynamite review from the 27th of December, actually the last Dynamite of 2023. I am here with Mikey, the Professor, and myself, JVL. It's J&J Security, making sure Mikey doesn't get hurt. And we watched a thing. The go-home show for World's End, as well as the New Year's bash, wonderfulness of Dynamite. 3 matches, lots of promos, and more questions than we could figure out for. So, gentlemen, this is going to be a tight one here as we get angry, figure out what's going on, and honestly not really understand most about AEW wrestling.
Yeah, we were talking more off air and making jokes more than I think we have to actually talk about for this review for the go home show, which is unfortunate because we should have all kinds of things to talk about, and it just is so messy.
So if you want to hear that stuff that we talk about or anything else, drop a comment down in below and let us know if you want us to put more stuff in the Patreon or what you want to do with it. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you get alert bells and alerts and all those great things, and just hang out with us because we are going to go for a ride here, folks, because we started right off with the first final match in the Continental Classic, the C2. This was the triple threat between Jon Moxley, Jay White, and Swerve Strickland. And my question right off the bat with this, as soon as it started, was, so we have all these rules, no people at ringside, no you can't use anything else, and you put a triple threat match as the final for your group, which in general is a no DQ, no anything match anyways. There's basically no rules. How does that work inside of a tournament of this sort?
I was so confused. I forgot the whole. Yes, it's a triple threat, and then all of a sudden someone went and got a chair and something happened, and I was like, oh, so there's no DQ. Oh, so there's nothing. I'm still thrown off that biting is still not a DQ. Like, they're just eating each other on these rings now, and they're making a joke of it, which is kind of fun.
Moxley deserved it this time, though. I mean, come on, he got his middle finger bit by Swerve. It was really
good. Was so good. Like, if you're gonna do it, make a comment on it, I guess. It threw me off. It was jarring. I'm like, why have the stipulations at all if all of a sudden you're gonna do it this way? It tells me, like Mikey was talking about a few weeks back, they don't know where they're going. They're just throwing stuff at the wall, and then they ended up with the 3-way. Oh God, what do we do? And if you're in a questionable 3-way, you probably shouldn't go through with it. They went going through.
And that's good for life as well.
I mean, that's just consent. This is the first time they've gone into the audience where I actually believed they had a reason to go into the audience. Actually, I thought they actually had fun with that. Yes, you there in the back.
Can I caveat that? They had a reason until Moxley found his, wonderful chair that has the side quest on it that he had to sit on for a second.
There's the side quest chair.
I was like, what was this? I was like, he just sat there. It was just like, come here, Swerve. I was just like, sure, bye.
I don't mean to jump to the end, but my favorite part of this match might have been Jon Moxley's Spinal Tap exit, where Jon Moxley doesn't know where to go to exit the arena.
That was amazing. He's like, oh, it's wrong way.
Everyone's cheering, and he goes, yeah, great, and goes to walk out. Like, nope, okay.
Wrong exit.
Hello, Cleveland! Hello, Cleveland!
Here we can rock and roll! And like, doesn't know where to exit. I was laughing so much.
So good.
I did not hate this. I had fun watching most of this. There was some miscues at the top. Fine, I can excuse that. They keep using Moxley out the gate just to get the momentum going, which is a choice. Fine, I don't hate that either. They kind of had a questionable "who am I in this 3-way," if you know what I mean, moment.
Which we've all been there. Yep, we've all been there.
Yeah, where do I put my arm if you're sleeping on your side? Because if I put it here, so
am I watching over here and letting you two go for a while? Do I get to jump in for a bit?
You know, like, and if I'm here, I'm gonna choke. Yeah, it's gonna be weird. And then if I get that foot cramp thing, so
that's the worst. Yeah,
that's the worst. So, Mikey's what? No.
Not as innocent.
Sweet summer child.
I am. Come on now.
So there was some of that, but once they kind of got going, about halfway through, I was like, why? Like, and I hate when I go meta watching the match, because then that means something else is wrong to me. So like, why are we still here, or why are we?
And you miss the work that's being done.
Yeah,
which
and
is so bad with the 3 performers we have because they work so well.
So well. And I like I've said, I'm a huge Moxley fan. I love Moxley. I've really warmed up to Jay. I really enjoy Jay's work. It's kind of hard as you have 3 heels who aren't heels in the ring together, so that makes it kind of a what am I watching thing? And that's kind of nitpicky, I know. I was excited to see punches thrown, since we've had a sort of text thread about this. Like, yeah, punches aren't used, and there was actually a good 30 seconds of punches where I was like, oh, look, that's happening. This was a 28-minute match, so of course they're gassed. Like, they busted themselves on this.
Does it seem that they don't know what they want to do with Jay White at all? He's just there to eat the pin and kind of be that glue to hold it together. Swerve you can't pin because you've got all this momentum, and we obviously knew going into this tournament who was going to be against who in the final of the tournament at World's End.
I actually like the Professor. I had a really fun time with this opener match. My critique with this match is not necessarily the match itself, it's everyone on the internet that is my biggest critique with this, because they went in. But why would you relegate Swerve to be stuck defending in what is essentially a mid-card title, which I can't really say because the ROH World title was the main title for ROH, but like we have seen in the last couple of weeks, the ROH titles play fast and hard by the rules.
And I don't want to make it sound like we're more grandiose than we are, but we all kind of saw through this, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, when I came back officially and started watching, like, oh, look, a tournament that Moxley's going to win. Like, you knew.
At least for Gold League.
Sure, Gold League you kind of knew, and then whoever was running Blue League slow played it to get us to Eddie, to where I really cared about Eddie, which we'll talk about next.
I will say this, the Collision side of this tournament for the Blue League is the better storytelling for me, and this is the closest you're going to get to the G1 Climax tournament in terms of matches you don't normally get to see.
The thing about this as well is that, as you bring up, Mikey, Swerve going for a mid-card title, not where he's being pushed to in the first place, but then this isn't even a mid-card title because you've got your TNT Championship, which is the Intercontinental belt they've got. You've got the International Championship, which is like, the US title. This is like the European title from the 90s. Like, this would basically make Swerve be D'Lo Brown if we were going to have him do that, and that's not what you want.
Man.
Damn, I love D'Lo, but damn, that is an accurate comparison because Swerve would be stuck. See, and here's my problem. I mean, we have to wait until the pay-per-view to see what happens, but I love Keith Lee, but if Swerve does not win that match on Saturday, I'm going to throw things in the air.
Swerve cuts this awkward promo right after. And I've said this a few times, and then I was reminded, dudes should not be doing promos right after matches. They should not.
Watch NTPW, you see that. They really shouldn't be doing that.
Their body is gassed, their brain is in the wrong place, they got to recover, then you stick a mic in their face. I mean, it happens a lot. I'm also against interviews on sort of MMA fights where immediately they're like, let's talk about the fight that you just had. A man almost killed you. Let's go. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about. I can't see out of my eye.
Give them some time to breathe. We're asking too much of them. So this promo came off really rushed. And sadly, we were calling for this Swerve Keith Lee 6 months ago.
Not even 6 months. This was supposed to happen a year ago.
A year ago, basically. But over the summer, I remember every time we did a Dynamite review, JVL and I, and then when Mikey joined, it was like, where's Keith Lee? It's a part of me that kind of feels like Swerve might have found out about Keith Lee after this match. Like, hey, go cut a Keith Lee promo right now. Wait, what? And here's just shoved him through the curtain.
Yeah. Here's your beat sheet, memorize, go.
No, he's even walking around behind the curtain. Like, I don't think he really knows. And Prince Nana's like, here's the thing. Like, wait, whoa. So this
Nana tried his best. Nana tried.
And this was sort of the start of awkward promos for the night because they were all off, in my opinion.
But we then went so Renee was doing double duty on this. She did the promo with Swerve, which was quick. Nana tried to take it over. She then went to top of stage to talk to Mariah May, which was not needed for this entire thing. Wonderful. You're announcing you're not going to start until 2024, and I'm excited to see you do your stuff. And
Her first match is next week on Dynamite.
Right. But this wasn't needed on this, and honestly,
no, it was not.
If they had put this promo as a filler piece on the pay-per-view, I would have loved it.
Yes.
Because her interrupting Toni Storm at the end or whatever to promote herself going into the next year would have been amazing. This was to get Rio out there, and then Toni out there, and then Schmaz to happen. And yes, the dive onto both Toni and Luther was amazing, but this was not needed.
Did you hear the audience not react? It was
deafening. Orlando is weird. Orlando is weird. I think this is literally a Stardom match in the United States, but Tony Khan doesn't think highly of women's wrestling.
Tony Storm could have had Mariah May prove herself against Riho.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You can't get to me until you go through Mariah May. That would have been perfect as well.
No.
Not going to happen. This is the same thing to say. We got a promo. We got matches on this Dynamite. We got a great match later on. And we have 2 matches on the pay-per-view for women's wrestling, and this is all they're doing with them is they're rushing them through it, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest. After the match we're going to talk about later, I feel that was a better use of the women and all the threads of story. The Collision ladies and non-binary folks over there too, because I got to respect Abaddon.
Oh, always respect Abaddon.
Mm-hmm.
Always respect Abaddon. Abaddon looked great, by the way. Like, they look happier. They look like more comfortable. It's great, but we'll talk about them later.
My nitpick, unless they're okay with this and I don't know about it, their Tron still says the Living Dead girl.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're Abaddon the Monster.
Right.
So.
But yeah,
this is more meta than I think we want to get here, but we could save this for another podcast if we want to.
Or
I wonder how often is it Tony Khan playing to the demographics of the state and town Tony Khan and AEW are in versus actually making choices on the wrestler's behalf, because you are in Orlando, you are in Florida, you are in DeSantis country, and even though you got Disney there holding a flag, you're gonna stir a pot that I don't think he wants to jump into, if that makes sense. That's the best politically correct way I can kind of say that, other than saying what I really want to say and getting us demonetized immediately.
I think there might be some pushback, but then again, these are wrestling fans. We're a bunch of weirdos anyways. We're kind of already ostracized as it is.
Well, yeah, but we also have that fervent right-wing group of us that are in there.
I was going to say,
which is very scary.
You got
especially in the southern states.
The right-wing wrestling folks who still think that women shouldn't be in the arena. I enjoyed the second half of this promo and where this was going for sure. I thought the first 30 seconds were boring. I think they kind of screwed Mariah May and went, here, they're not going to care, talk. So, not to sidetrack us, I didn't take any notes on the next promo. All I have is WTF water bottle.
Yes!
Action Andretti shotgun to water bottle.
That's what that was.
Hydretti.
That's right.
And before Hydretti, my favorite way of booking matches continues. Orange Cassidy mishears something, books a match, they called it out. Both Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero called it out. I was like, he just did that to me last week.
Yeah, Rocky was just like, he did that to me, but you know what? I'll see you guys Friday.
Continue to do this. Orange Cassidy just booking random matches for whatever it needs to happen. I love it.
It's smart, it's fun, it's quick, it's painless. Everyone kind of shines. We're in on the joke. I think it's clean. I think it's funny. Miro's terrifying, by the way.
Yes.
I'm so ready for this.
Oh my God. And I don't know whether it's setting Andrade up just to be a sacrificial lamb or whether this is going to be an actual good match. Dude. But yeah, who knows?
So I don't know a lot about Miro, and we don't have to spend too much time on this because I haven't seen a lot of Miro's work. I know from you all and what we've talked about, and what I've looked up and other things. Dude's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking, I don't know, who was that? That might have been JVL was talking back in September about get Miro and Brock in the ring. So I'm excited for it. I
thought we were gonna get something between them and Powerhouse Hobbs, but no. As soon as All Out ended, we never got them crossing paths again.
My thing with this is that I know the two of them are going to work well together. I know the match is going to be great and the audience will come around to it, but this is the most low stakes, no reason to have. There's no story behind it, so it's failing them on that level because great. You
sounds
get
like a majority of World's Ends matches.
Yeah, but at least even with this one, at least Keith Lee and Swerve, there was a story a year ago. This didn't even have that, and so therefore you're failing your performance at that point, just trying to fill out a card. A bunch of moments. It's WWE booking at this point. But we go from there. We go to Tony Schiavone in the ring announcing Don Callis in the best way he can, which is a non-thing. And I don't know. Did you guys feel the draft? Did you get that that push and rush of air from the hot air of Don Callis contracting with the Orlando heat, and all of a sudden the vortex of nothingness crap just started to swirl?
This was 4 different segments thrown together in this 15-minute section. So first and foremost, these god-awful paintings. That's the first problem I had.
Hey, the artist is amazing. I love the work she did on those.
Okay, my issue is because as the POC person on here, I felt a type of way when I saw Don Callis painted as a Crip with a Powerhouse Hobbs of all people. I was just like, growing up the West Side gang sign, I was just like, what the is this?
It did the right thing. It got your attention that way.
That's what they wanted.
Hated it.
That's why they did it, Mikey. They want you to hate them.
Then it progressively got worse.
Takeshita, having him sit there look like a Yakuza with Takeshita? Yeah, they're trying to make you hate him.
Kyle Fletcher punching a kangaroo.
Okay, that one was funny because I was like, I could see that as a static image from a Tekken game.
Mikey, is that funny for you because you're not Australian and therefore you don't get that, or you're not Aboriginal? So obviously,
kangaroos are a racist trope, man.
I know.
Kyle Fletcher is a white boy. White people get no sympathy.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Great. Okay.
That's fair.
Yep.
I just hate it.
I assume you hated the next one because of the family aspect of it, because you hate families. So that's great.
It made me sad to see Sammy Guevara. I was worried at first. He makes his return. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot he was part of this. And then immediately within 2 whole minutes, I'm pretty sure Sammy was supposed to be in the Don Callis family for a little bit longer than he had, of course. Then he got injured. Then he was on paternal leave. Don Callis, get it right.
Mikey, I'm with you right here. He got AR Foxed.
He returned to babyface, and then he got beat up and thrown out of the Don Callis family because Don Callis had the artist commissioned to paint this family picture without getting Sammy's approval from painting his newborn in it. And then Sammy didn't appreciate that no one checked on with him. And then it just got worse because who comes to save Sammy Guevara at first? But it is Chris Jericho. I'm like, oh God, Sammy Guevara cannot escape the Chris Jericho black hole. They're putting him back together with Chris Jericho. Lord have mercy.
But then we get the lights dropping. And we get more people because we get Sting and Darby Allin. So the Sting gods are there.
After Ricky Starks and Big Bill come out of nowhere and start beating up Chris Jericho.
I forgot about them. I always forgot about them. So here's the thing, Mikey. As I said before, everything got AR Foxed. It's just like when AR Fox didn't reveal he couldn't go to Britain, and so they had to basically truncate 6 months of storyline into a night, switch him back over to babyface to put someone else in, and that's because Kenny Omega got diverticulitis. So I don't fault them. They had to figure something out, but this was probably the worst way they could have done it because, one, Sammy Guevara sucks as a babyface. He is a born heel in this business. He needs to be a heel. And at the same time, you've now tried to tie up loose ends for a bunch of stuff that you didn't know you had to do and put together an 8-man tag match that, honestly, we already know who has to win this because they're doing the Sting wins every match up till his retirement match.
Seriously.
Sting's going to make the pin.
This whole entire segment frustrated me so much.
You know what's even funny? You didn't need Sammy Guevara back for this.
Seriously, I was like,
if you needed a tag
that
match,
return was sucked.
Have Jericho grab Sting and Darby Allin to go against Powerhouse Hobbs, Takeshita, and Fletcher.
That would have been a better match.
There you go. We can move away from that, though, because this was just, it's there to frustrate us. It's built in to get a thing on the pay-per-view as per everything else. Because
murder board time.
Well, we move over to Roddy talking to Renee and yelling her name. And Roddy, my God, man, I love you. You're comic gold. Why was this on the thing?
Spinning our wheels, Steel.
I love it, though. I think the Pepe Silva board was fantastic. I enjoyed seeing that right in the middle of the
Once again, we are spinning our wheels.
Yeah, but some of these wrestlers, some of these characters kind of have to deserve their wheels spun.
And
some of them, like you're saying,
on TV. We got the Kingdom on TV as well, which we wanted to have.
Sure.
Instead of what happened later in the night, because we know it was them.
I think, not to compare both promos, because that other one we shouldn't talk about anymore. There's a difference, to me anyway, between I'm sort of bloating out this promo longer than it needs to be because I feel grandiose and I'm going to take up my space. Like Don Callis tends to do, like Sammy kind of gets pulled into, like Jericho gets pulled into, this sort of, I'm going to talk as long as I want because they'll keep, right? As opposed to, I'm going to have a character spin their wheels because now they're in this shtick. That's their thing. We're getting a slice of life of their craziness.
And we talk about this with audiences as well, Mikey, whenever you're watching this for any type of artistic form. If you set up a call and response or anything else that they expect is going to happen when this character's on screen, they're always part of it, and they look for this. Our audience members, whether they like it or not, need to have Roddy scream someone's name and do something bizarre on their TV screens.
And it's okay that you hate it.
I want to watch the monkeys clap. That's what I got to do.
Okay, let me clarify this. I like Roddy. I like the Kingdom. I love this whole little faction.
I loved Rodney.
You hate kangaroos.
And families.
The point being, there are too many people involved in the MJF cinematic universe, as I have dubbed it across multiple reviews here, that, again, Adam Cole getting hurt sucked. But you have dragged this whole thing out. We started this storyline all the way from the end of April to the beginning of May. And now we are in December. We kind of had sprinkling, and then Adam Cole got hurt in September at Grand Slam.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I have been entertained by this going through most things. And I feel like a lot of the folks that are complaining about this online as well are like, if you don't like it that much, you don't have to watch it. Like, that's one of the cool things about this. It's always been a promo you can turn away from, you can flip back, come back to what you need. It's not been a big thing at that point for most folks. Whereas, like, the Jericho stuff is in the ring in front of a live audience where you're stuck with this crap that they take on for 20, 30 minutes.
I do see what you're saying, Mikey, and I do agree with the points that you're making. I think we needed to see this turn from Roderick Strong earlier, for sure, to me. I think we sort of strung out this "that's my best friend" thing for too long.
I thought this segment was great. My issue is that I'm going to reserve my judgment. Tony Khan and AEW have until the end of World's End. If we do not pull the trigger, at this point, I don't care who the devil is anymore. Just reveal someone.
The final of the Blue League, the Blue Group, which we had next, Bryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston. This is how you pace a match. This is how you build a match. And this is how you win a match.
And then this was my match of the night. And then coupled with what we got after the match, this was the whole entire, this is my favorite, 25, 30 minutes of the whole entire show that we watched. Sure. This is how you make me care about a pay-per-view match. But before we get to the promo, this is my match of the night.
I love the pancrase style that they kind of threw at each other, which is an old school Japanese style, MMA style, for those of you that know that. The sort of open hand strike and kick thing. Eddie spoke that language well. Daniel Bryanson sold it really well. There's a little bit of a chop fest in the middle, which I think was sort of, let's fill a little extra time while we breathe and hurt each other some. I thought the chop fest was
and at least time. Eddie's known for chops, because he studied in the Japanese style. Sure, he does the chops of all styles, so he's gonna.
That's
he's
fine.
He's very Suzuki-esque.
I see that, and I absolutely care. But we had 4 chop segments where it was okay, and now for 3 minutes of chops, and it happened a few times. This is how if you're going to do a promo after a match, this is how you would do it. Moxley shows up after the match, checks on Daniel, comes up. Everyone's like, oh my God. They get face to face. Moxley talks history to Eddie. Eddie calls back. Eddie had the line of the night where he drops that, I'm your senpai. And for anyone who's done martial arts or anyone who knows Japanese culture, to call someone out in public that way is huge. You are putting someone in their place. Moxley didn't really sell that line the way I think Moxley could have, but that was sort of a, hey, I'm going to remind you who I am.
I will back it up quickly also. Take note of how Bryan Danielson walks in as a basically good guy, basically, babyface, not the best, and works the crowd to become the heel for the underdog wrestler.
Absolutely does.
He had them in the palm of his hand the entire time.
And didn't do it in a shticky way. Did it in a calling Eddie out. Come on, Eddie! Yelling at him, barking at him, looking to the audience to remind the audience what he's doing to this guy. Oh, it was great.
This is what I wanted, and it sucks because he's not here to defend himself, but I totally disagree with our other host, Luis, because he's like, man, I was like, Eddie Kingston should have won this. I'm a big Danielson fan too, but from everything that Danielson has said, he wanted this tournament to happen because he wanted to compete in said tournament because he hasn't had the chance to, wrestle in the G1, which is something that he's always wanted to check off his list. So Tony Khan essentially created this tournament to allow Danielson to do something like that. But one thing that Danielson has said in interviews and everything else is that he did not want to win this tournament. No matter how much, management and Tony Khan were trying to persuade Danielson to win his Blue League, he says he wants to get close, but he does not want to win because he wants to put over all the other talent. Right. And Danielson has put over every single person he has faced in the Blue League, and such a big way. Eddie himself already has a lot of good faith with the AEW fandom, but man, Danielson definitely helped put 2 extra rockets to his back and just make sure to catapult it. And then Mox took the 3rd rocket to strap it on Eddie. That promo was one of the best things that I have heard in the recent weeks on AEW promo-wise. Tonith Khan, come here real quick. You have made not just me, you've made my other co-host, and outside of one of our Bi-Conics boys, you made the rest of us and the entire AEW fandom behind Eddie Kingston to win this thing. If he does not win on Saturday, that will be a big hit to what little faith I have left in your ability.
As we're going to see on Saturday, there's going to be a sign in the crowd that says, if Eddie loses, we riot. That's it.
You cannot have him lose in his hometown either.
No. There will be fighting in the streets as it goes on. Just
It's
like there was
New
fighting
York.
in the
They're
hallway
crazy.
in the next segment, because we didn't get the promo with Christian Cage, which was teased, and all the wonderful things there. I also love Christian Cage asking Lexi who she was. You're not Renee.
That was so mean.
That was so mean and so good. But then
I
we
was
have,
like, that's great, Christian, but how dare you?
but we then have Adam Copeland attack Christian Cage in the interview room. It spills out into the hallway. We get instead of the locker room clearing brawl in the ring, we get it in the hallways. And the funniest part is, as you look around, it's mostly the undercard of AEW and the upper card of ROH. Who are
You could
both
tell when they taped this segment because I was like, you saw the Von
Pentaco,
Erichs.
Angelico, all that. The Von Erich. Oh my God, the Von Erich.
Erichs. You saw Brian Keith was mixing it up a little bit. Like, this was all in when they were in Texas.
Yeah,
Right.
But it's like going down there. This got me excited again for all of them. They're doing great work with each other, and Christian Cage is the best He's doing the best work of his entire career right now.
Yes, so good.
That was so much fun. This felt like the best of the sort of late 90s Attitude Era street fight promos. We're going into an arena and we're just going to take 2 one-shots and have the camera follow.
This is how you do it. Adam Copeland's like, surprise, Christian, I'm back from promoting me in the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus, and I'm here to whoop yo.
Angelico's in the back going, no, don't do this. I'm not getting involved. No, don't do this.
No, he wasn't ready.
He wasn't
He wasn't
ready.
You know who else
Oh,
wasn't
man.
ready? For Julia Hart was Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander.
This match ruled.
This was my match of the night. I'm sorry. I love Danielson
Really?
Kingston. This was my match of the night, not only because it was the best type of storytelling any of them have done. Stokely Hathaway on commentary, adding every bit in there and taking Taz to task and Tony Schiavone to task. But then the freaking Avalanche Code Blue, that was the ridiculousness
baby.
there.
That was amazing.
Because it wasn't that Sky Blue won by shenanigans. Shenanigans set up the big finishing move.
Sure.
She took it herself. So I was all about this.
I'm just saying it right now. I don't know, man. Collision has the better stories in wrestling right now. And there are so many plot threads that we got after this match. But anyways, Professor,
So
you give your opinions.
I wish, because I don't watch the Collusion.
Collusion.
I keep saying that. It's just lawyers fighting. I wish Stokely got more run because I've heard of, and I don't know all those plotlines and other things, and was calling it out too. The announcers, I felt like, were trying to do everything they could to ruin the match, and Stokely was trying to keep the gears going on what's happening in front of us.
Works in ROH because
Which was like,
he ain't gonna let nobody do that to the women's division.
Shivani and Taz were just all over it, and Excalibur's sort of like, help me, and Stokely's throwing him those lines to fix
Lobbing
that.
and one-liners, yeah.
I don't know. This is my first time seeing the new Sky Blue. I kind of miss the old Sky Blue. Sky Blue is still ridiculous talented and doing excellent work and works great with Chris Statlander, and this was awesome. I feel like this match got cut for time. Even though they got a commercial break, it just felt like it was in a weird spot. They didn't know really
They
where
got
to
like
put
10,
it.
11 minutes, which is still kind of short, but honestly,
Did they?
both these... Yeah.
Which is more than most of the women get.
Yep.
Then maybe I'm not going to complain. I didn't know it went that long. It felt fast to me. Maybe it
Well,
was just when I was
it was bang, bang, bang the whole way through.
Yeah.
They didn't
They
slow
worked so well
down.
together.
that was my only thought.
Statlander cartwheeling out of the head scissors.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And she's not a short woman. Like, that was crazy.
So
Man.
this is her first loss in 19, 20 months?
First
Something
pinfall.
weird like that?
First
Yeah.
pinfall. Because
Yeah,
she
first-
lost the TBS championship.
That's right.
But she was not pinned.
Yeah.
So that's huge and just builds up storylines that I need to pay more attention to, apparently.
Julia Hart also popping out there, keeping her hat on, whacking people over the head. And then Willow Nightingale coming down, trying not to hurt people with her chainmail top, when she was like flopping around on that
She
stuff.
is the sweetest thing ever. She's like, I'm going to whoop your butt, but we're going to do it safely.
And then, of course, as Julia Hart and Sky Blue are skulking away, Abaddon appears and just out-spookies the two of them.
Yes.
You go.
You go, drag them to hell. Yes, go.
Again.
I'm so sad you're not winning on Saturday, but I am so happy for you.
I know. Listen, I'm just putting this out there. Between the two women's championships we're getting at World's End, the TBS championship has had a better storyline build-up to said match. Tony is still the best wrestling character in the AEW women's locker room right now, but the story leading up between her match against her and Riho has been non-existent.
We then have a very stale-type promo between Saraya and Ruby Soho.
All I wrote was, what the hell is this promo? Because
This was amazing.
Out of nowhere, I was like, what? I can't stop watching. I had the same face as Renee at the end, like, what is going on?
No, Renee's like, I'm married to John Moxley. I'm used to this kind of stuff right now.
I mean, well, no one was bleeding, and
Right.
no one was flipping her off.
I was just like, what is... Yes. I chuckled. I thought this was dumb, but this is the fun, dumb stuff that I like in my wrestling. I'm like, it's not even a prop knife. I'm like, girl, is that a real knife? I can see the glint coming off the metal.
It was.
I was like,
She got it from catering. You can tell she got it from catering.
Saraya was even shocked. It's like, no, girl, that's a real knife. No, not that one. I was just like, this is the perfect B-grade horror movie that I want to see.
They slid a borderline dirty joke in, a la Ring of Honor, right at the top of this about something she tastes, and that's what I heard, and they just
she has
share
great
a look.
hands.
Yes, and I was like, oh, I caught that. Look at you.
So yeah, very quick, weird promo to kind of like, change things around. And then we got what maybe probably the most angry on this entire show, where they brought up the fact that the Pure Championship is being defended on Rampage. What?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to complain because Rampage has been kind of giving me really fun matches. And me and Dolpho say this all the time. If you're going to stick the weird fun matches, do it on Rampage. And
Yeah,
that's
but it's
where
an
we're also...
ROH title, as we've talked about in the ROH review. That doesn't deserve to be on Rampage.
I mean, that's very, very fair. But, what we going to do?
Don't put it on Rampage.
Don't put it on Rampage.
MJF and Samoa Joe taking on the Devil's Henchmen, the Gimps in Black.
No, they're
it's
not.
not House of Black. It's the Dungeon of
They
Black.
are not the Gimps. Let me tell you what they look
Gimps
like real quick.
in
First of all,
black.
when I watched this, I checked the time on the DVR. I was like, what do you mean we only got like 4 minutes left? I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I was a child in the 90s. So like
What?
the Devil's Henchmen, I thought they had devil masks too? Okay, I guess not. And so when they came out, I was like, you know what they reminded me of? Remember in the OG Power Rangers, the Putty Squad, the bad
Putty
guys
Patrol.
like minions? That's literally the Putty Squad. And I just, in my head, I was just hearing the noise that the Putty Squad made. It's like,
Yeah, they're one step below the Foot Clan. Like, they're not that special.
And they're mixed with the Druids that the Undertaker used to bring out too.
seriously.
But so we
This
had
match
them
was
taking.
whack.
They were taking on each other. Samoa Joe looks like he's been beat up backstage because it's on there. Max is like, I'm still taking them on. Takes it off. Goes Super Max at that point. But he gets swarmed and there's a third one under the ring with a bat and they all get taken out. Joe finally hobbles his butt down after Max gets beat for the titles. Thank God they're off freaking Max and him.
And spoiler alert, if they're on the Kingdom, I will complain less about it.
If they're on anybody else that could be on there, it'd be great. But so Joe comes down, tries to drive them off, but they really don't get into much of that. And you could still see Joe waiting for all of them to get over the barricade in their dark masks because they couldn't see to get over the barricade to get out. The screen pops up and says, "Pleasure doing business with you." Joe then is perfectly fine and beats the living crap out of Max. He has been working with the Devils to beat the crap out of Max. This makes no sense in the continuity you've worked in, but sort of does.
It's a cop out to me, and I think Mikey will probably rant as well from Rider Hat. It's a cop out. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what trigger to pull, and they bait and switched us. Fine. I'm okay with the bait and switch. That's great. I think we needed a better payoff than this, because this was just arbitrary leading into this thing.
The Devil needs to be Adam Cole after what they set up for the weeks leading into this. Who got him to team with Samoa Joe, who nearly threw in the towel when he was in that match. Cole has been pushing him towards Samoa Joe the entire time.
Sure, but now you got Cole hurt. Where are we going to go?
Is he? Is he?
If he's not, and they screwed up all this booking because he's not hurt, I have even more questions.
Yeah, I will too. But it's leaning that way, which makes me think that the Kingdom won the titles. But now, because they've done it as the Devil's Henchman, could it be defended into the Freebird rule between the entire group of these creepers?
Or is it Roddy Strong? Is it him as the devil? Because that one I would buy, and I would be a little more interested in, that I'm accusing you of the thing that I am.
Mikey is now putting on his writer hat.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
On the plus side, I am happy to see MJF no longer holding those Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships hostage. Sure. Hopefully, if it is revealed that the Kingdom won them, then I am not going to complain about it, because I've been saying that the Kingdom should be holding them. But, they're in AEW right now, so they're still not on where they belong, but we're took a step in the right direction. I actually enjoyed Samoa Joe beating up MJF. I think this was put in the wrong place in the last couple of weeks that we've had this storyline. Here is where I would have put it, because remember, 2 weeks ago, we were supposed to have a ROH Tag Team title match, and what happened? It was in the middle of the show, and we didn't get that match because the Goon Squad surrounded the ring and everything. So here's what should have happened. Either they should have did Joe turning then, or had it done last week. The order of certain events should have been shifted around. And what should have happened tonight is then you have Samoa Joe continue to beat up MJF. Probably what's going to happen is, once again, MJF is channeling his inner Super Cena, because then you have Joe and the Goon Squad beating him up tonight, and then he's going to win on Saturday. Unfortunately, Samoa Joe is about to be eaten by the Maxwell Jacob Friedman cinematic universe by the end of this. Now, my only silver lining here is if somehow they allow Joe to win and take the title off MJF, then I will be hooping and hollering, but I will still complain of how messy this storyline has been.
Can I make one edit to your point?
Sure.
Instead of calling it a cinematic universe, just to make it funnier, we just call it the MJFU, because that's what he's doing to everyone in this.
I second this statement. All those in favor?
The council approves.
Yes! We have a quorum. All right.
I hated this.
I think if the MJFU turns into some kind of, using it right out of the gate, we're going to use it. If they turn this into some sort of MJFU redemption plotline, and sort of I'm trying to find my way back to the title thing for 2024, I could see that. There's a lot of hurdles in there, I think, booking-wise, that they're going to mess up for sure. This last night kind of buries Roddy's sort of MJF's the devil thing. Although, if MJF is the devil, none of this makes sense.
I don't even care who wins the championship match at World's End. My main goal right now is give me the identity of the devil or somebody in there. Then I will be okay.
We have come to the end of Dynamite, thankfully. We are going into a pay-per-view, and before we do our predictions on a separate feed here for World's End, we need to get our ratings for this Dynamite, the go-home show for World's End. Mikey,
yes.
Professor, myself, give me those empanadas. I'm hungry.
I mean, I don't... It's... if average is 5 and 6, this is definitely in the average or low average, because it was just all over the place. There was no stage manager at this production. They were making things up as they went. They had pre-taped stuff, which we talked about, that they just kind of shoehorned in there throughout the night.
It felt like ROH that way, by the way.
Yeah. So, nothing against the performances and the matches, because the matches in the end were all solid. They're professionals. They do their work. We talked about that at length. I mean, this is 5.5 out of 10. Like, it's sort of meh. The women did not get the run that they deserved. Some of the promos are fun. We're kind of taking them out of context to make them work. I hated the end with Samoa Joe and MJF. I just felt it made it confusing and strange, and what does that even mean and why? Other folks differ on the internet if you go dig up that on the internet. For a go-home show, I was more interested in the Miro commercial and the Adam Copeland beatdown in the arena. That got me fired up. Everything else made me go, Eddie, and then Eddie winning, sure. So yeah, those three things, when really it should have been 2 hours of me getting ready for the weekend. And I just kind of went, okay.
Mikey?
I'm in the same boat as the professor. I'm going to go a little bit lower. I give this a 4 out of 10 empanadas.
Wow.
Because, again, lack of build up to a lot of these matches that we're getting at World's End. This is all out part 2 for me, where you literally, but this time you had weeks to build these things. And again, Kenny getting out of the picture was obviously derailed a lot of this. So for that 8-man, as much as I hated the segment we got to build to it, I'm gonna be a little graceful towards that one, because they didn't foresee Kenny being gone and thrown out of that picture. However, the rest of the show, outside of Eddie and Danielson's match, then Chris and Sky, all the promos were either serviceable to, why am I even here watching this? This was bad. And you have poorly messed up the storylines, a lot of your main title picture. I'm excited to watch the pay-per-view because we're going to have a watch-along and we're going to be doing amazing things during it, but you made me not excited for World's End, and that's depressing. There is something wrong.
That's
100%.
I'm more excited what comes after World's End across other promotions than this Saturday.
I should be excited to watch all these matches instead of, I have questions. Maybe I'll check in next week. Like, you kind of talked me out of it at points, which is weird.
It is. Don't need to echo anything else on there. You all were there. For the match quality, it would have been a 7 to 8. For the amount of promos, that drove it back down. So we're at a 4.5 out of 5. And then we drop another one because of the women's stuff. So we're down to a 3.5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we'll sit here. That is where we're going into World's End. As we said, check us out on our live watch along on our setup there. See a lot of us on there as best we can to be there. And we are looking forward